This is Will Montgomery, former Washington Redskins center.
Yo, what's good, folks? This is Trey Johnson, the headbanger, yo, and you're listening to Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted. Word.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mess Hall. It's your boy Tailgate Ted again, joined as always by my man Rally Captain.
What's going on, everybody? It's that left, right. And Trey Johnson said it all, man. Headbanger. This week is going to be a headbanger. Let's get it.
Yeah, it definitely is, man. It definitely is. And I want to start the show off by thanking our sponsor, Woodbridge Collectibles, for sponsoring this episode. We really appreciate everything they do.
Well, I meant to tell you, hey, everyone, what you need to do is check out Woodbridge Collectibles. And you can find them online at woodbridgecollectibles.com. And basically, if you guys are a collector like I am, then you're able to find a lot of memorabilia that they have and what you may need. They have a couple of products that are new in stock, including a Jahan Dotson mini helmet, D'Angelo Hall photos, and a variety of Jamin Davis photos and different products. So, do yourself a favor, follow them on Facebook at Woodbridge Collectibles for a new signing announcement that's coming soon. You won't want to miss that. And Woodbridge Collectibles will also be attending Tailgate Ted's week 3 for the Commanders versus Eagles game. So you'll be able to actually meet them in person so that you'll be able to get a better idea of what they do, how they do, why they do, when they do, where they do. And just by mentioning that you heard us on the DMV Mess Hall, you'll get 15% off your next order. So, it's a win-win for everybody. You should check them out.
No, it definitely is. And speaking of win-win, I saw those pictures you put on your Insta, or I think maybe your Twitter, of the lady that won the Fred Smoot jersey. So that was pretty awesome, man.
Oh, yeah. And believe it or not, so here's the weird thing. She was a Detroit fan, but her boyfriend, who also entered, was a Commander fan, formerly Redskin fan. So he immediately took it, obviously, and said he's going to get it framed.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd be a little salty if an Eagles fan won something from you, and the next thing you know, they threw that thing in the trash or burned it. So
No, they had mad love. And also the other young lady who won the Jamin Davis autograph picture, it was a fun time for all. And it couldn't be done without Woodbridge Collectibles. I'm telling you, man. And we were able to raise a substantial amount of money for the Red Cross. So I'm looking forward to, at the end of the year, tallying it all up and presenting the Red Cross with that big check.
No, that sounds great, man. I'm looking forward to drinking with the guys this Sunday. So hopefully you guys are out there at the tailgate. We'll catch you out there and you'll get a chance to meet the guys over there. But man, let's jump into the show. It's Wednesday, the 21st at 5:20 right now, for those keeping track. After we recorded our show on Monday, I sent you, I think it was a Twitter DM, Jamin Davis's Instagram post.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that didn't see it, it's been taken down, but just check our YouTube channel. Jamin Davis put a post and there was a video in it. And part of the video was him getting that sack. The other part of the video was a clip from the movie Django Unchained. And let me play that audio for you real quick.
Together for you ungrateful sons of bitches, and all I can hear is criticize.
So for those that don't know, and I'm assuming you all do because you listened to the show and we talked about it last episode, Jack Del Rio threw Jamin Davis under the bus. Then Rivera put it in reverse and ran him over again on Friday during his press conference. And then this past Monday, Rivera put it in drive and ran him over again, saying that Jamin was inconsistent. So Jamin posted that after Monday, sometime in the afternoon, and Bobby McCain, his teammate, actually liked the post. And I'm only thinking that Commander's PR or some of his teammates told him, hey, it's a bad look. You got to take that down. But once it's on the internet, it's out there forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what you thought when I sent that to you.
Well, I said, oh, this young man's getting heated and his true colors may be coming on out. That dog in him may be coming on out. So I'm all for expressing yourself. I'm wondering, like you said, who told him to take it down? Or did he say to himself, okay, you know what? I got my point across. I'll take it down.
Yeah, it's just, I appreciate Jamin for showing emotion, because that's something that you don't really see out of him. And my concern is things like this can start to divide a locker room and start to have players go against coaches when you've got your teammates liking it. I mean, I'm kind of shocked, and a lot of people have said this, that Bobby McCain liked it versus talking to the young man as a vet saying, hey, that's just not a good look for the team. It's only week 3. You know, you got broad shoulders, just take it. But Rivera today during his press conference actually said this when a couple of reporters asked him about the defense.
I thought Jamin did play well. I thought there were some good things that he did. A couple of things he's got to work on and continue to improve and get better as a football player, but I thought he did some nice things.
So I'm not sure what happened between Monday afternoon when Rivera watched the tape and we recorded to today, other than the Instagram post. And now you got Rivera going out of his way to compliment Jamin. And it's just, to me, it's kind of odd mixed messages, and I don't really understand what they're trying to do. Was he inconsistent or did he play well? And you can be both.
Right.
But it's just weird to me.
Well, Ted, I got to tell you, I was able to look at the tape and break it down, and Jamin was where he was supposed to be, I'd say 98% of the time. That's high marks for me. I did see where his teammates were not in position a lot of the times. Why he's getting the blame for it, I don't know. Maybe it was just these last 2 weeks, blame it on Jamin. Maybe so. I don't know. But there were times when, if we want to talk about it, your Mike linebacker, your bread and butter of the core was just getting blocked like it was nobody's business. He's supposed to be able to shed those blocks and find the ball and attack it. I didn't see that. Then there was a couple sets where we had the rookie and the other linebacker. He was looking in the backfield and getting shook. So whereas Jamin was in position. So I think that maybe they looked at the tape a little bit more, and they also felt that pushback and probably said, okay, wait a minute. Enough of blaming on Jamin week. We got to move on and spread this love equally.
I'm hoping so, because I definitely didn't like them ganging up on the young man. And obviously he didn't like it either, or he wanted to put that Instagram post up there. And I'm hoping that he shines this week again, because I haven't been the biggest fan of his just because I didn't like the pick. Nothing against him personally. I just don't think he was worth the first round 19th pick overall in the NFL draft. But I'm a fan of his now.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling for him.
Yeah. No one feels that he should have been picked in that position. No one. But hey, we got lemons, so we gonna make lemonade, baby.
Speaking of lemonade, we got a couple of lemons that we gotta. Chase Ray is hurt, and what's going on with, unfortunately, with Chase right now, he's on short-term IR. They don't know exactly what the problem is, because the swelling in his knee is still significant, so they don't know how bad the damage is. Rumor is that it could be a knee and an MCL or a kneecap, according to Ben Standing, but regardless, they don't know what they're going to do. Did bring in a vet. The guy's name is, let's see here. I know I got it, and it's going to drive me crazy. Nick Martin, center Nick Martin. He was the former pick of the Houston Texans. He started 62 games for the Texans and actually had a 46-game consecutive start streak. So he's been in the league before. He knows what to do. He actually was in the Raiders camp all season, or no, he played with the Raiders last season, and he was in camp with the Saints this year. The Saints cut him before the season started, but he's in football shape. That's some of the good news. And he's a vet. Now, is he going to compete for the starting job this week with Wes Schweitzer? I find that a little bit doubtful, just because he doesn't know the calls. And this is actually what Carson said today about losing Chase.
Chase Roullier, not just the starting center, he's also calling out the signals and things like that. What does that do for you now with a new center? Does that do you take on any extra responsibility there?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be something that we'll iron out here throughout this week. Definitely prayers up for him, and I think things will look different in that regard up front. But at the same time, I know those guys will be prepared, whoever it is, and guys will be ready. They're coached well. They've always been ready to go, and I don't think my job will change in any regard.
So when Carson says he doesn't think his job's going to change, it's because the center calls a protection, not the quarterback. So the concern is if it wasn't going to be Schweitzer, because Schweitzer missed last week with a hammy, so he was inactive.
Right.
And it's going to be Wes Martin or John Toth or Sadiq Charles or Nick Martin. Good news is Wes Schweitzer was a full participant in practice today.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, you and me both, man. You, me, all the DMV, because the question was going to be, is Wes Martin going to be able to handle it? And will Nick Martin know the calls? Well, Schweitzer, all of training camp, was in for Roullier because Roullier missed a majority of camp because he was still on IR, still coming back. So Schweitzer knows the calls. He knows the blocking assignments. He knows where to point people. So I was definitely worried and freaking out come Monday and Sunday when Roullier went down. And it's just so fluky, man. It was the second to last play of the game when Roullier went down on a needless third down bomb. But good news is we've got a capable backup in Schweitzer. The only downside is if something happens to Trey Turner or Norwell, Schweitzer's also our backup left and right guard, and he's obviously not going to be able to switch and move over. So we're getting pretty thin at that O-line.
Yeah. It's tragic, man. And but once in my life, I know that the saying is next man step up. I get it, but you need somebody to be able to put into place to be able to step up. It reminds me of I would say probably these last 4 to 5 years, man. We've always gotten to this point, maybe not in the season, but where it seems as though we calling somebody off the street to try to come in and play. And I get it. It's the NFL football, but God, I wish you could. I never wish injury on anybody, but I actually wish it was happening to another team and not the Commanders, man, because every year it's the same old song for us.
It is. I mean, I remember I was in Cabo for just a vacation, and it was the wife booked it, didn't tell me. We were out of town. Thank God it was an away game because I would have had to tell her we ain't going. And we're hanging out, and we were playing the Seahawks. And I remember our quarterback, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Colt, but somebody was introducing themselves to the linemen that day in the locker room. They literally just got a guy in off the street Saturday. They had to fly out to Seattle. And we ended up winning that game. And I made a bet at the bar with this guy that was a Seahawks fan thinking, this is just stupid. I'm going to lose. But hey, might as well. I'm on vacation. And we ended up winning, even though these guys literally were just in jeans 24 hours earlier. And I've got faith in Matsko is going to get them ready.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a tough task.
Yeah. Well, I was at that game, and I think we touched upon it where when I when I got there and checked into my hotel, just happened to pop on the television, and the reporter was like, "Yeah, the Redskins, they've got nothing to play for. It's cold, it's rainy, they're injured. The Seahawks are just going to run all over them. It's going to be a wash. I wouldn't even turn the game on." That's what the reporter said. And to come back and be able to win, I was just like, oh, hey, that was actually Kirk Cousins to the other Dotson who lost it for us in Kansas City. And he redeemed himself on the bomb. He caught that ball. I mean, he caught it with everything he had in his power, man, to get us down to like maybe the 2-yard line or something like that from Kirk. And so I will always remember that game because I just said to myself, that's what you get. You just jinx your team.
Oh, amen, man. I mean, sometimes when I used to travel, I remember a Monday night game against the Eagles when I went up there and we were sitting in the end zone and they're just yelling and screaming at me the entire time. And they literally brought Sylvester Stallone out at midfield to hype up the crowd. And I'm yelling and screaming top of my lungs, Rocky's not real. and just going back and forth with all these fans. And that was in my younger days when I used to drink a lot and just, you're giving it to me, I'm giving it back to you.
Yeah.
And we ended up beating them. And at the end of the game, Chris Samuel was taking a bow in the end zone and waving goodbye to all the Eagles crowd. And man, that just felt so good because nobody picked us.
Yeah.
Not a single person. And I feel like that's going to be the same thing this week, but we'll get into that when we get into our preview. The team also let go of Donovan Jeter. And for those that don't remember, we signed Jeter last week because Phil Mathis went down. Jeter played 18 snaps, but apparently they didn't like what he did. So we cut him. He cleared waivers. So now he's on the practice squad. And we picked up a defensive tackle from the Cowboys, John Ridgeway. The Cowboys actually drafted Ridgeway, and they released him because they had to sign Cooper Kupp and bring Cooper Kupp up, Cooper Rush, their quarterback, because they didn't want to put Dak on IR. So they needed to clear that roster spot.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys are actually trying to put Ridgeway back on the practice squad, but he didn't make it through waivers, and we picked him up. And I'm not surprised we did that because we play them next week. So it's, fitting that we're able to get a Cowboys player that knows some of the system, that was with them all camp, but also was drafted by them and went all through camp, that's supposedly going to be a good player. So he's 6'5", 320 pounds. And I got no doubt he's going to get some playing time this week, considering how thin we are, because Daniel Wise has a high ankle sprain, and Casey Toohill, I believe, is still in concussion protocol.
Oh, dang. Well, just for everyone who doesn't know, when you say he didn't clear waivers, explain that to him if you can.
So when you let go of a player, all the other teams in the NFL, it's like if you play fantasy football, you have a order of the teams with the worst records get a chance to say, yes, I want to sign him.
Okay.
And they hope that no one wants that guy, so then he can land on the practice squad if you want to move him there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, several teams wanted to pick up Ridgeway. Luckily, none of them were ahead of us in that waiver slot. So we were able to sign him, and now he's on our squad.
Gotcha.
So it worked out, and I'm happy that he's here. It's just, interesting of what they saw and talked about in Jeter, and now Ridgeway's here. But I also do think that's because we are playing Dallas next, and you cannot sign a player off. So let's say we didn't get him, and he was on the Cowboys practice squad. You cannot sign a player off of your next opponent's practice squad. So the NFL put that rule in where you can't poach players like that to try and get a one-up on who you're going to play next. It's got to be at least 8 days in advance if you're trying to take them off of your next opponent. So, but some good news is Schweitzer was out there, like we said. John Allen was a full participant today, and Cam Curl was a full participant today. So that, to me, is massive. We are going to need Cam out there if we got a chance of slowing down this Eagles high-powered offense.
Definitely, man, because they've got something to prove. But not only do they have something to prove, the Commanders have something to prove to themselves, to the coaching staff, and to this fan base. We feel, the fan base, and I'm sure the team feels, and the players, if we can put 4 quarters together, not a half, but 4 complete quarters, we can win this game. And I'm scheduled to go on a Eagles podcast on Friday. And basically that's the same thing I'm going to tell him. If the Commanders can put 4 total quarters together, we can win this game because we have the offense. What will the defense do?
Yeah, we do have the offense, and we'll get into that in a minute with the defense. And we actually got a clip from my buddy Fred Smoot was on with Grant Paulson and Danny Rubio, 106.7 The Fan, talking about what we actually need to do to fix the defense. But from a updated power ranking perspective, we were 24th last week. After that game, we moved down to 27th. And these are NFL.com power rankings. It says here, Carson Wentz did his part after a quiet first half, but the Commanders won't win many games by asking their quarterback to be a do-everything savior. Wentz got very little support from the running game, anemic for 2 weeks running, but the real culprit in Sunday's loss to Detroit was a defense that allowed a relaxed Jared Goff to throw 4 touchdown passes without a pick, and the Lions running game to rumble for 191 yards.
Ooh, that sounds
Wentz and the
bad.
offense did their best to make things interesting after the Commanders fell behind 22-0, but the defense proved incapable of getting a big stop to shift the game's momentum. Get well soon, Chase Young. And amen on get well soon, Chase, but I don't think Chase coming back would have helped. And not to beat up on him anymore, we did that last episode on that recap. We all know that the defense is the issue. This offense is high-powered, and we've got weapons. And people are talking about us. But right now, no one respects us because of our defense. And this is actually what Smoot said when he was on with Grant and Danny on what we need to do to fix it.
Fix this defense for me.
All right. Kendall Fuller needs to either play nickel or free safety, period. That's where he needs to be. He's the smart one. He's the talker. He's the one. All right. Next, St. Juice needs to be outside at 6'3" with his ability. No fades, no none of that will happen. Second, if Jamin Davis can't play in space or can't process stuff when changes, when the formation shifts, blitz him. Play him on the other side of the ball at all times. Give him one job, blitz. What I'm going to do on third down, coach? Blitz. What you going to do on second? Blitz. All right, at the end of the day, make his job simple. Let him chase people. Let him attack. At the end of the day, we had Greg Williams at this time. We had a theory to +1. We always going to go +1, then you got to block it up. All right, he tell us, corners, win early. You ain't going to have to win late because there ain't no late. And simple, and this is what I also want you to do. Do not put my guys Montez Sweat, John Allen out there and just tell them to go get the quarterback because they talented. I need to see stunts. I need to see all kind of designs to free certain people up. Simple math. Let them play fast. Get them 4 or 5 plays and let them play fast.
I love me some Fred. He's always good for a soundbite, but he couldn't be more correct on this, man. Simplify this. And you were talking about it last episode. You know, have Jamin just blitz. Have Jamin just attack.
He's got a motor on him. And when they did do that, the first sack against Goff, that was a designed stunt that they did, and he got home. Now, I don't know what happened later on, but if it means moving him to the left, right, whatever, it doesn't matter, man. The fact is, the kid is fast. Have him put pressure. We know that pressure will kill almost everything. So in order for him to get home, he's quick, he's lengthy. Let him use his mind to attack versus trying to think. And I've always said that. I said, okay, and we've talked about this in length, but I'll repeat myself. You drafted him in one position, but obviously that's not his strong suit. What is his strong suit? Make him one-dimensional, dominate. We've got our own Micah Parsons. Everybody talks about Micah Parsons. We've got our own Micah Parsons and Jamin Davis. Let him eat and get the ball. And then if you want to switch it up and do something different, then okay. But for the most part, let them believe that all he's going to do is rush the quarterback. And I think that we'll see a change, albeit slight. It'll be a change. It'll be a wrinkle from what they see because they know now when they see him, quarterback can touch his helmet. He can call a guy out to be singled out with him. And then here we go. Cover it up.
They need to do something to scheme and put him in better positions. And
right.
I'm not going to go with he's our Micah Parsons. That's a little strong. To me, Parsons is one of the top 5 defensive players in the NFL, and Jamin can't even, in my eyes, hold Parsons' helmet. But I know what you mean when you say it.
Okay. All right.
I know what your example is there, and use him like a Parsons.
Correct.
in that spot and put him in different scenarios. And to me, just going as recent as last week, use him like a Hutchinson, line him up and stack him on that defensive line, or let him use his speed, or have him match up at the line with a tight end or a running back and blitz him. You need to simplify this game for this young man, because last year he was thinking too much because you tried to give him too much and it wasn't his natural position.
Yep.
This year, he's doing better. We talked about in the beginning of the show and mentioned how you watch the tape, and so did I, and he looks better because he's at his natural position. But if you truly simplify this, and doing it for the entire defense, simplify the scheme, then we've got a chance at doing something here. But that's the problem. I feel that our coaching staff is too stubborn at times, and they feel that they know what's best. And who knows what's going to happen, because they knew what was best when it came down to Landon Collins not being successful, not playing Buffalo nickel, but then they finally moved him down because Collins was having a horrible year. Why are you waiting to simplify things or put people in the right spots? And it's going to be an interesting matchup. And the Eagles were actually 10th last week before the Vikings game. They've now bumped up to 3rd on the NFL Power Rankings. And it says here, that's a big move.
Huge.
The Eagles have hit the ground running. Nick Sirianni's team dominated on both sides of the ball in a 24-7 win over the Vikings at a raucous Lincoln Financial Field. Jalen Hurts, again, looked the part of a star on the rise, throwing for 333 yards while accounting for 3 total touchdowns. The star of the other side of the ball was cornerback Darius Slay, who will continue to intercept Kirk Cousins' passes in his nightmares for the next several evenings. The Eagles are a team without an obvious weakness right now, and the upcoming matchup against the Commanders and Jaguars provide a recipe for more good times. And I watched that game before our show, went through everything, and I don't see a weakness in Philly's game right now. And seasons past, when we played them, Jalen wasn't a well-rounded quarterback. He could run, but he couldn't use his arm. Now he's got an arm, and he's always had one, but now he's accurate. Now he's hitting guys on the run. And that's what scares the hell out of me when we go into this matchup.
In stride too, man. I mean, he's obviously, you can tell that this is his true 3rd year in the league. And, they say that 3rd year will make or break you. And it's making him. It truly is.
It definitely is. He had, like we said earlier, 333 with his arm this past week and 57 yards with his legs. And this is actually Ron Rivera talking about Jalen Hurts in the upcoming matchup.
You'll be going up against a really good quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who's playing at a high level. What kind of challenges does he present to the defense, and how do you contain that type of a mobile quarterback?
Well, the first challenge he presents is that every time he has the ball in his hands, it's a run-pass option. And so that's the thing you've got to be able to do. With him, it's all about discipline. That's one of the big emphasis this week is just discipline. Discipline in your assignment, discipline in how we want you to do your assignment. And we'll continue to focus on discipline against this football team and this football player.
So jumping into our just look at this matchup, I mean, Rivera talks about discipline and knowing your assignment, sticking to it. Well, John Keim put out a stat on Monday. Detroit gained 227 yards on 6 plays last week.
6
plays.
6.
And we all know which ones they were. We all remember St. Brown torching us. We all remember Swift torching us. But 6 plays, 227 yards. And if you go back and you look at it, and I don't know why anyone would unless you're doing a podcast like us or you're into some freaky S&M stuff, but yeah, torture. It was torture. But realistically, guys weren't doing their assignments.
No.
And this is something that Rivera always likes to say.
The play doesn't care who makes it. So if you're where you're supposed to be, doing the things you're supposed to, the play will come to you. And that's one of the things that we got to get across to our young men, that hey, just do your job as best as you can, and a lot of good things will take care of itself.
The problem last week was you had guys trying to do too much, guys over pursuing, And don't get me wrong, there was miscommunication. But on the times when they got beat, where there wasn't miscommunication, it was guys out of alignment and not being where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I am not a Jack Del Rio fan by any means. And everyone is yelling and screaming to fire this man. And I do think he will get fired. I just don't think it's going to happen yet. I think it's going to happen in week 14 when we're going into the bye to give someone else time to actually devise a game plan and do something, because we talked about it. You're not going to change scheme going from a Monday to a Wednesday. And Rivera also wants that bulletproof shield he's got with Del Rio, or else everyone's going to point the finger at him when the defense plays like S. But he's putting guys in positions. They're just not excelling. And maybe it's because it's the wrong personnel and because it's the wrong scheme. But if you play sound defense and disciplined defense, we got a chance to do something this week.
We've got more than a chance, Ted. More than a chance. The fact is, a football game has to be played on Sunday. And I'm not going to just let the paper dictate, just go ahead and lay down. They moved up to number whatever. So now, we just I get tired of people on social media saying, have you looked at what Philadelphia is capable of? There's no way. And I said, well, then just stay in the locker room then, or don't even show up to the game. If that's how you feel, then why even play the game? And I'm from the mindset of, no, man, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like us. The time has come for us to step up. We're at home. We're at home. Albeit there's probably going to be, I'd say a quarter Eagles fans there.
A quarter?
Or maybe a half. Okay.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Or maybe a half. I mean, they always show up. They always come down to FedEx. And once again, it always amazes me how FedEx is the worst stadium, but it always has visitors, fans there. So it obviously must be doing something right.
So let me tell you one thing why a lot of fans that I know, because of my PFUFA brothers and sisters, for some of them, it is cheaper to see a game in DC than to see a game at their home field. So a lot of fans will fly here because we got a ton of hotels and our game tickets are cheap, especially towards the end of the year. Whereas I had friends that were Patriots fans. You're talking $300 to sit in the lower bowl. And here they got a ticket to sit beside me for $40. Now, the ticket for this game isn't $40, but that is why a lot of fans come here, because we don't fill the stadium out and people sell their seats towards the end of the year for nothing.
Well, I'd like to know what the average price of a ticket is going for now, because that doesn't make sense to me once you add up airfare if you wanted to stay home, or transportation to get down here. That's cutting into your budget for an actual ticket if you were at home. So on one aspect, I hear what you're saying, but the other aspect I call bullshit. That's just me.
Yeah, I hear you. But the other part of it is people want to go to a game that they think they're going to win, that they know they're going to win in their head.
Homecoming.
And we opened up. Yeah, we opened up as 7-point dogs, depending on where you're looking at this. And no one is picking us to win this game based upon what the Eagles are doing. And the fact that, yeah, okay, they only scored 24 points against the Vikings, but if you actually watch the game, I'm not sure if people were watching Dancing with the Stars, but if you actually watch the game, the Eagles dominated that entire game. And they were like a cat playing with its food. They were just sitting there and toying with the Vikings that entire thing. And what scared me was, I mean, going through and looking at it, Jalen Hurts was in shotgun all but 7 plays that entire game, giving him more time to read and see who's going to be open, what's going on. He was under center 7 times, and every time he was under center, he handed the ball off and ran it. But the fact now that they predominantly run a run-pass option, RPO, and he's using his legs to buy time, that's what worries me. And that's what we're going to have to make sure we try and take away from them is the Vikings had Jalen Hurts a couple of times, but Hurts fake the handoff
Mhm.
to his running back and Sanders. And next thing you know, those defensive ends, and it cracked me up when Del Rio called our defensive linemen individual contractors. I think it was maybe 2 press conferences ago.
What?
Yeah, he called them individual contractors, playing like individual contractors at one point, which is just, we talk about tearing up the locker room. It's comments like that that are doing it. But that's my concern, is you've got people playing for contracts. And are they going to go for the highlight play where you can blow a running back up in the backfield and tackle him for a loss? Because Jalen likes to take that ball out of that breadbasket, keep it himself, and scramble, and sometimes use his legs and sometimes use his arms. So if it's me, and if I'm seeing Jalen do that, I'm hitting him every time. I don't care if he hands the ball to the running back. I'm just going to hit Jalen and make him pay, even if I get 15 yards.
Yeah, he needs to feel it.
You got to punch him in the mouth if you want a chance. And I get the Eagles fans coming down here. They do that with every sport we play them in. They come down here and take over Wizards games. They do the same thing for Flyers games. They do the same thing for Phillies games. It's only a 2.5-hour drive down 95. And I sent you a tweet on Twitter. They actually have a company advertising a billboard saying, "Carson, we're coming for you." And it was a travel company doing trips like you do with svevents.net for fans to come down. So I know they're going to be there. And I don't think we're going to have a home field advantage this week, depending on how we start the game.
Depending on how we start the game is correct. It all depends on what Carson does and what the line does for Carson. And actually, I'm going to take it even a step further. It's going to depend on what Scott Turner sees the line doing for Carson. That dictates what plays he runs, because we know that he did not run the smart plays against Detroit. So the time has come for everyone to earn their money. And I don't want to have to say that, yell it out loud. It may be time for him to go back up in the booth instead on the sidelines. I don't know.
I don't like the fact that he's on the sidelines. I don't feel that he can see as much. And
I agree.
From a communication perspective, he wants to be able to talk to Carson. Well, you got a phone up there. You got a headset. You can talk to him, but they're not going to move him. He's up, he's down on the ground, and he's up there. I love to know a stat on how many quarterbacks are successful when their, offensive coordinator is up high versus down low, but it is what it is. The good news is Philly doesn't like to bring exotic blitzes. So they really didn't rush more than 4 against Cousins, because they trust in their back 7 to really do what they need to do to cover. And they trust in the front 4 to get pressure. And we talked about it earlier. We're going to hopefully have Schweitzer out there. Can Turner and Norwell do what they need to do? But it's also a copycat league. And we saw how the Lions brought it and how it got to us. So I do feel that they're going to blitz more this week than they did last week against the Vikings on Monday night. The question is going to be, like you said, which offensive line is going to show up? Because I was reading a Eagles versus Commanders matchup, and it was from a Philly website. So I love doing that from the opposing team's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
They were basically getting into, this is the same trash Carson Wentz that we sold to Indy, and then Indy tricked Washington into taking that trash that doesn't know what he's doing. And honestly, I read it because it just makes me laugh. Just like whenever the Eagles lose, I listen to Eagles sports talk just to hear their fans cry, because it just makes me smile every time. Hearing all those guys with those thick accents yelling and screaming.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Those accents, boy, they kill you, man.
I mean, it cracks me up, man. But the thing is, Carson is not the quarterback that they think he is. He had maybe 2 bad decisions last week against the Lions. Those sacks, other than the 1 sack where he evaded pressure and then actually scrambled into a sack, none of them were his fault. And then the throw that he had to Logan Thomas, where it was too high, if you slow it down and look at it, there were 2 linebackers he was throwing over.
Mm-hmm.
And he just missed it by maybe an inch or 2 inches. Those were all good decisions by him.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it comes back to haunt you, or people like to tend to pile on when we say, well, you know, he was throwing the ball high in camp, or he was throwing the ball high here, and then he throws the ball high in the game, and people see what I tell you. So it's almost like he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. But I just want to see a good game by Carson. I know he can say all day long that this is just another game, yada yada yada. No, he wants to get back like everybody else does. I want some get back. I thought I was going to get some get back in Detroit. It didn't happen, but hopefully we can get some get back against the Eagles, because I don't want to hear them with that fly Eagles fly crap at FedEx Field.
I'm not looking forward to being in the stands. I'm looking forward to being in the tailgate, but I'm not looking forward to being in the stands on Sunday, just because we're going to hear it. I mean, a little inside football, I was texting with the Commanders. Well, back then it was the Washington football team, about Ryan Kerrigan coming back to FedEx Field last season. And I know Ryan, I know his family. I was trying to work with them so the team would do a video tribute to honor Ryan before the game. And they said, we don't want to give Eagles fans anything to cheer about. So they didn't want to play a video of Ryan Kerrigan before that game last year because they thought it was going to get their crowd hyped. Like, to me, that was the dumbest excuse. And it was just them being lazy, not wanting to do it. But it's not like the Eagles' schedule just came out all of a sudden and they were just here. I mean, you knew that they were going to be here at the end of the year and they had plenty of time to do it. But that was just, their excuse then. Our thing is we got to give them nothing to cheer about. And you're talking about the offense. For me, it's the defense. If we're going to win this game, it's going to all come down to the defense because we know what our offense can do. We know what they're capable of. Carson right now has 650 yards passing, 7 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, 133 yards. Jahan Dotson leads all rookies with 3 touchdowns. I mean, we know what this offense can do. Unfortunately, Antonio Gibson, our running game is non-existent, but through the air, we've got a chance. So jumping into it, my Woodbridge Collectibles signature player of the week, I'm going to cheat a little bit here and got to be the line. I need all 5 of those guys to be my signature players of the week to give Carson time because this game is going to be a shootout. I don't think we're going to be able to stop Philly on defense. I think we're going to have to worry about Philly making a mistake and getting a turnover and us capitalizing on that. So if we can give Carson the time he needs, because we know what he's done with time, then I think we have a chance at winning this game. Who's your signature player or ERS of the week?
I'm going to go with one and one man only, Carson Wentz. He is my signature player of the week. And I say that because, one, he's playing against his former team, Super Bowl team. He's playing against them. And as you said, the billboard, Carson, we're coming for you. He knows it. So it's just one of those things where you just want to put your finger inside and just stick it in them and say, there you go. Ha ha. It's like when you're at a visiting stadium and they're loud and it's 3rd down and 9 and you get that 1st down and now it's 1st and 10 and you see the player put his finger up to his face mask. Shh. That's what I want to see. I want to have those guys packing back up 95 with Carson Wentz leading the pack. We go as Carson goes. So he is my player of the week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And obviously we're both taking offensive players because I feel there's going to be a shootout. Carson has never actually played the Eagles, which, isn't a shocking stat considering he's been with them until last year where he was with the Colts and the Colts didn't play the Eagles last year. But to know that, for me, Carson was benched for Jalen Hurts. So Jalen was a rookie when Carson was there.
Yep.
It's that extra added thing that you need to give you fuel when you're down in the dirt and you just got punched in the mouth. And I just finished watching, what was it? Cobra Kai. And Cobra Kai this last season. And not to spoil it for anybody, but there's a moment in there where Johnny is just getting the crap kicked out of him. And then something happens. And it's that extra added bonus he needs to just beat these 5 guys down that are just wrecking shop on him. To me, that's what seeing Jalen Hurts on the other side of the field is. And obviously, they're all being politically correct. They're, for the most part, not giving anybody any bulletin board material. But we'll jump into that in a second. Hurts is saying all the right things. Wentz is saying all the right things. But I feel that if I'm Carson, I'm going to my guys in the locker room and saying, guys, I want this one. I need this one. Because we all know how Matt Ryan's been doing down in Indy. And we all love the fact that Indy is 0-2 right now and that Carson's leading the league, or not leading the league, but he's doing a heck of a lot more. And Matt Ryan, I think Ryan has 1 touchdown. Carson's got 7. But to be able to beat Philly and punch him in the mouth here would be just not icing on the cake, but this is something that movies are made of, man. You know, this is like a Disney thing down the road. They made that. That was that Kurt Warner story. It's gonna be the Carson Wentz comeback story. I can feel it, man, and I'm hoping.
Fingers crossed, bro.
Jumping into bulletin board material, the Junkies had John Allen on this past Monday, and the Eagles are going to go as far as Jalen Hurts takes them. Well, John Allen said this about Jalen Hurts.
And, you know, people always make the comparison about a running quarterback or a dual threat quarterback as opposed to more of an in-pocket quarterback. But I look at it the opposite. Jalen Hurts is going to give us more opportunities to get him down because Jared Goff gets the ball out really fast. And, I mean, sometimes he's getting the ball out so fast, it doesn't even matter if he has an offensive line, you're not going to get there, as opposed to Jalen Hurts, who will stand in the pocket longer, giving you more opportunities to get to him. So, I mean, every quarterback's different, you know, as far as getting down. Obviously, we know what kind of player Jalen is, and I'm looking forward to it.
So, John's looking forward to it, but you better be damn sure that the Eagles played that clip for the team and for Hurts. And sometimes they say you got to watch what you wish for. And this is Rivera talking about facing Philly again after what happened the past couple of seasons.
You guys played Philly twice, tough last year. They had A.J. Brown. How different does that offense look at what you've seen through 2 games and what you looked at last year?
It's the same offense. I mean, they do what they do. They do it very well. The only difference is, as you said, they got A.J. Brown, and he's a very good football player. He really is. There's a huge discrepancy in targets. I believe he's been targeted 21 times, while the closest next receiver is 11. So you know, he is a bell cow out there. He's averaging 10.5 targets a game, so he's somebody that we most certainly are aware of.
A.J. Brown's no joke, and we see how the Titans are now without him. I think they're 0-2.
Yeah.
I mean, not doing too well. And I feel that A.J. Brown has been that one piece that Philly was missing. And he's not the entire team, but he's, I want to say, maybe 1/3 of the offense. Jalen Hurts is the other third, and then everyone else just kind of a gap.
He's a playmaker, and you get the ball in playmakers' hands. It wouldn't make sense. It's almost like if Curtis Samuels, for instance, he's our playmaker. Terry McLaurin, playmaker. You know, Jahan Dotson, playmaker. So they're going to get the ball in that guy's hands as much as he possibly can, and I don't blame him. It's going to be up to us to be able to sniff out what they're trying to do. It's going to be a good cat and mouse matchup, man. And so we've got to really be on our game. And I'm going to say this, and this is the last time I'm going to talk about Detroit. When I say be on our game, when you see that motion guy sweeping around, look inside. Look for him to have the ball possibly, because 2 times they ran that end around and our defensive ends were nowhere to be found, brother. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. They were not paying attention to where the ball was. And it was a quick little sweep, and he ran right around. One was to the left and one was to the right. So that's what I need them to do. Keep their head on a swivel and play some defense, man. Attack the ball.
And that's what we talked about earlier. Rivera mentioned, you just be disciplined. Just do what you're supposed to do. If all 11 guys on that defense can do what they're supposed to do, then they can slow down this Philly attack. Believe it or not, we're actually 4th in the NFL on third down right now, third down defense. And we talked about how bad we've been on third down defense. Well, we're 4th on it right now. So if we can put them in situations, then they've got a shot. But really, the secondary is the concern. So William Jackson III, through 2 games, is actually the 79th best corner in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus.
Oh, my gosh.
He's actually making the most in the secondary, and he's got allowing a 152.1 quarterback rating on 10 targets. Kendall Fuller is giving up 21.6 yards per reception right now. And that's what concerns me. And you listen to other podcasts and you hear other guys talk about it. And like John Keim is very good about this. You need the pass rush to match the coverage in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to have to do this week to make sure we can slow down this Philly team. And giving predictions this week, we talked about it earlier before the season started. I don't have us winning this game. I have the Eagles winning. I think it's going to be ugly because the defense hasn't shown me that they can step up. And I hope and pray they prove me wrong. But right now, I cannot. If I had to put my money down on us, I just can't do it, even at a 7-point spread. But we talked about what we need to do to get that W. I'm curious, what do you think we have to do to make sure we get that win this Sunday?
As I said earlier, Carson has to read his keys. He's going to have to almost be that Cam Newton with the Superman on his chest. And I hate to put it all on Carson, but he is the guy who touches the football. And we've seen quarterbacks be able to throw teams back in it. I mean, we've seen Kirk do it. We've seen Robert do it. And we've seen guys be able to do it. So unfortunately or fortunately, this is going to be up for Carson to get it done, and with some help from the defense. But Carson, you got to do it, bro. You got to say, you know what? Forget all this nonsense. Give me the rock. Give me the rock. That's what it has to be about.
Sometimes at the end of the season, they show some behind the scenes of guys kind of talking and motivating, like NFL Films type stuff. I would love to see that from Carson in the locker room when he's talking to the team, because it's been a hell of a ride the past 2 weeks. We've had some ups with that Jags game and some downs with obviously that Lions game, but I want to see if these guys have grown, and I want to watch that on Sunday on the field, and I'm looking forward to it, man. So those of you that are going to be out there, make sure you say what's up to Rally and me. Looking forward to catching you all out of FedEx Field. The weather's supposed to be beautiful. Stop on by for a cheesesteak. With that being said, we appreciate y'all jumping on for another episode of the Mess Hall with us.
And once again, everybody, rep it hard, but don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted, we'll be out.